Of course, the one thing it does seem to me that was done very well was the vaccine, was throwing resources, both in the UK and in the US, better than in the EU, actually. Both those countries were very fast, threw a lot of money, picked some very smart people, got this vaccine running, and it was a staggeringly successful vaccine.
Yeah, we're
That's
not
right.
fixing.
I mean, our evidence points to the success of the vaccination campaign, that after the vaccine becomes available, you start to see red states doing worse in COVID mortality than blue states. They have lower rates of vaccine uptake, and that the rate of vaccine uptake correlates strongly with COVID mortality in the second year, that's when the vaccine became available. So it's not correct to say that blue states didn't do better than red states during COVID. They did. But all of that difference happened in the second year after vaccines became available, because the vaccines did make a very significant difference to the trajectory of the pandemic after they were available.
They did, and, this was a Trump vaccine. So it's really befuddling to me why a Trump bragging about this super warp speed program that created this vaccine that will protect you, won't cure you, but it will mean that you probably won't die, was nonetheless, by that point, an object of skepticism from people on the right in America. Steve, how do you think that through?
I don't know. He got vaccinated very early. That's for sure. There was some messaging around the vaccines that was not entirely correct, as Francis mentioned. The notion that the vaccine would be sterilizing, that you'd be a dead end to the virus if you got the vaccine. That was not an end point in the vaccine trials, so they had no basis for claiming that. They shouldn't have claimed it. The recommendations around boosters, well, this comes later, of course, but the recommendations around boosters have been criticized by people who are very mainstream. Dr. Paul Offit at the University of Pennsylvania Children's Hospital, has pointed out that while the trials and the information on the original vaccines were very good, the recommendation in the United States to boost everyone over the age of 6 months, as it became the case later on, was not backed by good evidence. And apparently he says that some of his colleagues believed that people over the age of 65 years old would be more likely to get it if they recommended the boosters for everybody under the age of 6 months. But and that they're not experts on public messaging around that kind of thing. So it is a little bit puzzling and unfortunate, because as Francis mentioned, the death rates in the Republican states wind up becoming something like a third higher, I think it is, post-vaccine during that period, and it's unfortunate. And so there are various causes.
The red states were kind of right about some of the NPIs, the bullshit that we were the blue state, but they were wrong about the vaccine, and that created these differing impacts over the two major years. And of course, by that point, we have Biden in power, and so there's that going on as well.
It does mystify me that the Biden administration went forward with a vaccine mandate after it was known that the vaccine did not make you a dead end to the virus. That was after the summer, where they had told us all to put our masks back on, even if we had been vaccinated. So that, in other words, they knew, and yet, nevertheless, still forged ahead. I think that amplified public mistrust around the vaccines. And I don't understand the decision-making around that, like why they could press forward with a policy that was predicated on something that had been shown not to be true.